Hi everybody, and welcome to Once Upon a Scarf. This channel celebrates the art of the vintage scarf, especially those by the great designers of the 20th century. These artworks on silk tell fascinating stories about fashion, design, and the minds of the men and women who decided what we wore and how we wore it. I'm so happy to share what I know with you. Today I'm thrilled to bring you a scarf by the great House of Dior. Dating to Christian Dior's actual oversight, meaning the great man himself approved its production and possibly even suggested the subject. But looking at it is a puzzlement. I love that because it means digging in, with a bit of detective work and some investigation into the inner workings of a great couture house. This scarf turns out to be an inside joke, one that passed between Dior and his spectacularly sophisticated, wealthy clients, who would have gotten it in a heartbeat. With this scarf, you kind of had to be there, or you could stick around to hear the whole story. I'm the author of 2 classic books on vintage fashion, Secondhand Chic and It's Vintage Darling. I'm a huge fan of the luxury, affordability, and awesome design history behind great vintage scarves. I'm so happy to share what I know with you. So let's take a closer look at this silk square. There are a number of telltale physical signs that it's quite old, probably dating to the late 1940s to early 1950s, meaning the very earliest days of the Christian Dior Atelier. The first sign is the raw fringe hem. This is typical of French scarves of this era, especially those from Dior and early Yves Saint Laurent. I believe it indicates manufacture by a particular silk house, probably one of the great Lyonnaise suppliers, like Bianchini Ferrier. The silk itself is a heavyweight twill, and of a creamy eggshell color. The design silk-screened upon it is in a single color, navy, which is repeated around the border. Apart from this border, the design and the house name have no frame. Most importantly of all, the design looks like it was created by hand, with splooches and splotches here and there, perhaps even impressed with raw materials, rather than made with the precision of a machine assist. It's an artist's scarf. All of these indicate made in France in mid-century. So looking closer at the design, we see what looks like the impression of a textile, with 2 funny blotchy ovals here and here. In its unapologetic abstraction, it looks more like a cubist collage than the scarves typical of the era, mostly say florals that had more to do with wallpaper than with in-your-face modernism. At this point, it helps to remember that Christian Dior lived for challenging art in the late 1920s and early 30s, when he ran a gallery that featured greats like Picasso, Man Ray, Dali, and other avant-garde masters. Looking even closer, we see a familiar texture, especially thanks to these tendrils spinning off the raw edges. It looks like tweed or some other heavy woven wool, which of course would have been a staple in the atelier to make up the couture suits and dresses. I think it matters that Christian Dior confessed on multiple occasions that his great designs originated with fabric. In his autobiography, he writes, "I never choose a material solely because of its exquisite shade of color, but because its texture seems exactly adapted to the effect I want to achieve." The great photographer Cecil Beaton once observed that for inspiration, Dior either travels, withdraws to his country house, or just feels fabrics. You can practically feel this one. But what about the round blotches? They could be nothing more than a design element to bring interest and emphasis to the overall look. But I am 99% sure that these are dress pads. Christian Dior famously used them to give body and curves to his new look hip line, molding it to gently billow away from the waist. The pads would also have been used higher up to emphasize the grand femininity of his clients' figures. But the thing about dress pads is, they're hidden beneath layers of fabric. They're meant to be secret helpers. You're not supposed to see them unless you actually own the garment or are otherwise privileged to see it from the inside, draped on the back of a boudoir chair. It seems to me that this scarf is one big Easter egg about the literal inner workings of haute couture. What happens beneath the surface, behind closed fitting room doors. All of these outfits were made to measure. That's what haute couture is all about. The measuring, the tugging, the pins, the swapping out of bigger or smaller pads to make things just right. Only the insiders know what really goes on underneath. If this interpretation is true, this scarf is an unusual statement. It's witty, which I believe is a hallmark of OG Christian Dior scarves, made under his eye and approval. We see it again here in this incredible early scarf, which probably depicts the master himself as a carnival mask. We'll see it again in some future videos, especially in the gift scarves the designer bestowed on very special clients, as a token of appreciation for their patronage. This one, like so much else by Christian Dior, breaks the mold. It shows us haute couture's secret side, its raw fabric and cotton wadding implants that revolutionize the post-war woman's figure. If you owned a scarf like this, you are part of this incredibly select, discriminating, and above all, custom catered to world. Elitist? Holy cow, yes. But as history's wheel turns, scarves like this turn up on the secondhand market with some regularity and at shockingly low prices, as long as you know what to look for. If owning a piece of haute couture history is an intriguing idea, I suggest you refine your eye and get hunting. And that's today's scarf story. I hope you enjoyed it. To get the inside stories on vintage, OG, Dior, Saint Laurent, and so much more, please hit the subscribe button to see more.